except the gigantic universal form of the Lord Mahavishnu, which came out of the causal ocean. The place of appearance for the first Purusha Avatara entered into each of the separate universe, desiring to lie on the created transcendental water Garbhodaka.
Okay. So Purusho Andam Vinir Vidyam. You know? Jad Asau Sa Vinir Gita. So Mahavishnu in the Karanaksha, after creating the universe, he came out of it and entered into the one universe. And then he needed a place to lie down, so he created his own water. Is that Apo Shakras Shuchi Shuchi. So he created the transcendental water from his sweat. So Lord's sweating is also Shuchi, Pavitra. So that is Garbhodaksha ocean. Okay. So now we'll read the commentary of Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur.
The difference between the Jiva and the Lord has been established through the 10 characteristics of the Mahapurana, and thus Bhakti to the Lord has been hinted as the deliverance of the Jiva from the world. Now Shukdev speaks in order to explain a topic he promised with Yad Uttama Taya Prishto Vairajat Purusha Didam Yathasit Tad Upakhaya. I will explain what you asked me concerning how this universe arose from the universal form. Not Parikshit asked the questions. Okay. Why do you always speak about the universal form and the self? Why is there so little sweet discussion about the qualities and form of the Lila Avataras? What you observe is true. To whom should topics about the Lila Avataras be taught with relish? Those who have perfected bhakti or the Nitya Siddhas constantly play spontaneously in the sweet ocean of the Lord's beauty and pastimes. But those who are sleeping on the bed of bliss and of sense pleasure, and those who are painted in the waves of suffering arising from the karma cannot be woken up. How can pastimes of the Lord be taught to them?
So sometimes we also have this question. Most of the Bhagavatam is a discussion of universal form and all those things. It's not so entertaining. It's not so absorbing. So this question is being asked, as if Parikshit Maharaj is asking, why are you again and again talking about universal form, talking about self? So Vishwanath Thakur is saying, the sweet pastimes of the Lord are meant for the whom? Nitya Siddhas. Okay. So very beautiful English is writing. But those who are sleeping on the bed of the bliss of the sense pleasure, bed of the bliss of the sense pleasure, and those who have fainted in the waves of the suffering arising from karma, okay, cannot be woken up. So how can the pastimes of Lord be taught to them? Okay, next, yeah.
This crest jewel of the Puranas, being most merciful, thinking of how to give instruction to make them into Sadak Bhaktas, constantly attempts by some trick or other to wake them up, just as a leaf burned by fire is giving relief by fire, and a person haunted by a ghost is revived by a ghost mantra. So Jiva's absorption in the sleep of Maya can be broken by topics concerning Maya. It has been said, Maya Mayambaryato Omusha Isharasya No Modata Srinata Sraddaya Nityam Mayatma Na Muyati. If the Jiva constantly describes Maya in relation to the Lord, remember Maya or hears about Maya with proper faith, he will not be bewildered by Maya.
Okay, so that is why it is being discussed. Again, he discusses the low jiva desiring to cross the material world and have developed determination to take shelter of the lotus feet of Guru can be delivered by constantly hearing about the self. So most of the Bhagavatam covers the philosophy of the self or philosophy of universal form. Okay, so universal form is there so that we can come out of the lap of Maya, and the discussion of self is there, that is also discussed. So those who are faithful devotees of the Lord will relish the nectar of the whole Bhagavatam. This scripture, you can read from here. This scripture
does not only speak about Bhagavan, though he is the main topic, yet he also speaks about the impersonal aspect of the Lord Brahma and his person Paramatma. It has been said at the beginning of this work, Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaneti Sabhyate. Thus, repeated discussion on the self is suitable for the worshipper of Brahma and Paramatma. By this means, being most generous, Bhagavatam produces bhakti in even the worshippers of Brahma and Paramatma. Bhakti even appears in those who have reached perfection in Brahma and Paramatma.
Okay, yeah, continue.
This is shown in the verse Atma Ramaschamanaya. Those persons, their sadhana and the result they achieve are not rejected by the pure devotees, but looked upon with sympathy. Krishna, who is completely full of sweetness in his form, qualities and pastimes, and possesses dharma, jnana, vala and aishwarya, since he contains all avatars such as Matsya and Kurma, and the aspects of Brahma and Paramatma as well, is worshipped by all types of devotees. The scripture being non-different from Krishna's Swarupa, thus reveals Krishna as the source of all avatars, Brahma and Paramatma. It reveals his qualities, pastimes, sweetness and powers, the method to attain him, sadhana bhakti, the goal, prema bhakti, as well as all principles such as dharma, jnana, yoga and vairagya. Thus everything is consistent.
Yeah.
When the Lord, who glances over Prakriti, having created the universe, distinguishes it from himself, situated himself outside, he desired a sleeping place, Ayanam, for himself in the universe, Tasmin, and created the Garbhodaka. The Lord, being naturally pure, Suchi, created water which was pure, Suchi. This distinguishes it from the male person.
Okay, so clear? Why there is a discussion of universal form and self?
Read in Bhagavad Gita that Paramdishta Nivartate. So again and again it will only discuss about the Maya or Bhautik thing. So how we can get rid of that?
There's no taste. It doesn't give us much taste.
Because I am thinking that if we know better, get better taste, then we'll try to go there. Like if somebody only tasted neem pakora, so he will not get the understand the taste of rasgulla like this.
Yeah, my understanding is like till 9th canto, if you study all these universal forms and discussion of Brahm Paramatma again and again, and then we hear the pastimes of Krishna performing Ras Leela, lifting Govardhan hill, so then we can relish it more, because then we won't take Krishna as an ordinary human being. No. That's why all these 9 cantos prepare our consciousness for entering to the 10th canto. Okay? Because once we have understood this and then we hear the 10th canto pastimes, then we'll really relish it. That great personality is now behaving like an ordinary cowherd boy. Okay? Now we also appreciate, but that appreciation not so much, because we have not appreciated his Srishti Leela. That's why all the acharyas say first relish the Srishti Leela, then go into the Ras Leela. That way.
After Parishad Maharaj is questioning so many questions, so there was some answers him. But at the last, when he is going to die, so Uttara came and asked. So Parishad Maharaj doesn't explain anything like this.
Anything like this. No.
Not at all story from Srimad Bhagavatam. He just completely narrating.
Yes. So that is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now he is just about to leave his body. So he will not tell all these things, universal form.
But any subject matters he can tell, like Parishad Prahlad.
No, he just gave the essence. He just gave the topmost receiver of the mercy are the gopis, Rajvasis. And then story of Gop Kumar, how to go there. And then Uttara Mata, what is it for me? What should I do? You take shelter of Shri Krishna, do Harinam Sankirtan, following the footsteps of gopis. That's all. That's what he gave. That was the essence he has to give. Yeah. Okay. Now go to Prabhupada's purport, please. So in the first paragraph only, which I have highlighted, as a yoga system mainly based on the bodily exercises meant for the persons who is too much attached to the bodily conception of existence. Similarly, Lord's pastimes related to the creation and destruction of the material world are for those who are materially attached. Okay. Right. Okay. And Prabhupada is saying, then normally people take Krishna as a normal man. Okay. You can read from here. After Avajaranti Mamoda.
Foolish men do not know the personality of Godhead in his eternal power of bliss and knowledge. The foolish man thinks of the transcendental body of the Lord as something like his own, and therefore he cannot think of the unlimited controlling power of the Lord, who is not visible in the acting of the physical law.
Continue.
The Lord is, however, visible to the naked eye of the people in general when he descends himself by his own personal potency. Lord Krishna incarnated himself as he is and behaved very wonderful parts as the Lord himself, and the Bhagavad Gita concerns such wonderful actions and knowledge. Yet foolish men will not accept Lord Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Generally, they consider the infinitesimal and infinite features of the Lord because they themselves are unable to become either the infinitesimal or the infinite. But one should know that the infinite and the infinitesimal sizes of the Lord are not his highest glories. The most wonderful manifestation of the Lord's power is exhibited when the infinite Lord becomes visible to our eyes as one of us. Yet his activities are different from those of the finite beings. Lifting a mountain at the age of 7 years and marrying 16,000 wives in the prime of his youth are some of examples of his infinite energy. But the Mudas, after seeing them or hearing about them, decry them as legendary and take the Lord as one of them. They cannot understand that the Lord Sri Krishna, although in the form of a human being, by his own potency, is still the Supreme Lord with full potency as the Supreme Controller.
Right? Clear? Surit Subal Prabhu. That way. Okay. Yeah. Tasvavasit sarusrishtasu sahastram parivatsaran ten narayana no napa yad apa purushotbhava. Yes.
That Supreme Person is not impersonal and therefore is distinctively a Nara or person. Therefore, the transcendental water created from the Supreme Nara is known as Nara. And because he lies down on that water, he is known as Narayana.
Yeah. Okay. Dravyam karmam cha kalascha sabhavo jiva eva cha yad anugrahata santi na santi yadupekshaya.
One should definitely know that all material ingredients, activities, time and modes, and the living entities who are meant to enjoy them all exist by his mercy only. And as soon as he does not care for them, everything becomes non-existent.
Yes, every matter, dravya means all physical elements, karma, kal, swabhav, jeev. We all are effective only by his mercy. Yad anugraha santi, na santi yad upekshaya. If he neglects us, we are totally ineffective. It is because of his mercy, like in the morning I was trying to tell in the class, even the dead matter becomes live. The dead matter can exhibit its characteristic only due to the presence of super soul in the dead matter. Sugar has its sweetness because of the presence of the super soul. Okay. Water has its taste. Krishna says, Rasum apsi konteya. So Krishna is not only the cause of everything, Krishna is the essence of everything also. Okay. The earth has its fragrance because of the presence of super soul. Okay. So everything becomes effective only because of the presence of the super soul, and if super soul neglects it, it has no value. So Srila Prabhupada is writing the last line of the purport. The living entities are therefore completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord, and all their so-called enjoyments by the scientific improvements are crushed into dust when the Lord desires. Finish. Okay. So in the middle of the purport is saying this is the best way for us is to cooperate with the Lord. You can read this yellow highlights. In the material world, you can read from here.
In the material world, the spirit of enjoyment of the living entities by dint of their own actions, karma, gradually fades by the law of nature, and thus the illusory energy dictates in the ears of the conditioned souls that they should become one with God. This is the last snare of the illusory energy. When the last illusion is also cleared off by the mercy of the Lord, the living entity again becomes reinstated in its original position and thus becomes actually liberated.
Yeah, for this, yeah.
For his attainment of liberation from the material places, the Lord creates the material world, maintains it for some time, 1000 years of his measurement as stated in the previous verse, and then again annihilates it by his will.
Yeah.
The living entities are therefore completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord, and all their so-called enjoyments by scientific improvements are crushed into dust by the Lord desires.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Now this description of universal form, this is the third time the universal form is being described in the second canto. You know, isn't it? You remember when the first two times was discussed? In previous units also you were discussed about universal form. Now again you are discussing about universal form. So apparently they may appear to be the same, but their descriptions are totally different. And the purpose for which they have been described is also different. So in the first chapter also, the universal form is described. Second chapter. What was the purpose?
To satisfy the audience who are
Ashtanga yogis, yeah. Attached Ashtanga yogis. Those who are attached for their kram mukti. You know, they focus on it helps them in their meditation. Those impersonalists whom on they should meditate, so they imagine a form. You know. And all this universe has the different limbs of the Lord. Okay? So that is for the attached yogis. Detached yogis straight away meditate on the Paramatma within the heart, but those who are attached, they meditate on the universal form. Then again, in the 5th and 6th chapter, again, universal form was described. What was the purpose? The purpose was to explain that how Garbhodakshai Vishnu is the both instrumental cause and the material cause. You know, he supplies everything for this universe. Okay? So that's how the universal form was described. Now this again description of universal form is there. Here Sukadeva Goswami is trying to give us a lesson that by our desires we get our subtle and gross body. Now when we hear the description of universal form, it will describe the universal form desire to taste. So gross organ tongue appeared. Okay? And this gross organ tongue will house the subtle organ tongue and the sense devta and the sense object will also appear. So when we say the Virat Roop desire to taste, that means all the living entities, the sum total of living entities in the universe desire to taste. And their tongues, gross organ tongues, their subtle organ tongue, sense devta and the sense object will appear. So as per our desire, we make our subtle and gross bodies. So this is the lesson we'll get. Clear? This is the third description of universal form in second canto. But every time the purpose is different and description is also different. So you'll find altogether different description. So universal form as such is not a reality, it's a kind of imagination. But the ingredients are real. All the planetary system is real, but how they are located, the description, that is imagination. In the first section, in the first description, to help the impersonalist to meditate. The second description was how the universe is created, how the Garbhodakshai Vishnu supplies all the materials and he creates. And third description is how the desires of the living entities shape up their subtle and gross bodies. That, right? Okay. Eko nanatvam anvichan yoga talpat samudhita viryam hiranymayo devo mayaya visajatridha. Yes. Please.
The Lord, while lying on his bed of mystic slumber, generated the seminal symbol golden in hue through external energy out of his desire
to manifest a variety of living entities from himself.
So previous verse was talking about Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and now this verse is talking about Mahavishnu. Now we have heard it from this Upanishads, Ekoyam Bahusyam, the one Lord becomes many. So this applies to this verse, okay? So when we say one Ekoyam Bahusyam, it applies to Mahavishnu. It applies to the state where the creation has yet to start. Okay? When the Lord wants to create, He becomes many. Living entities are eternal. Living entities are not created. Their bodies are created. So when it is said Ekoyam Bahusyam, that refers to creation. In the spiritual realm, the living entities are, the Nitya Siddhas are always enjoying with the Lord. They are not created. They coexist with the Lord. But in material creation, the living entities, sometimes they merge into the body of Lord, sometimes they come out and try to fulfill their desires. So when the Lord wants to create, Ekoyam Bahusyam. Okay, then here it is written, Eko Deva Nana Anvichan, Yog Utpata Samuttata. When the universal destruction was there, the Lord was sleeping. Okay, and then when the Lord woke up, He wanted to create. So Nana Anvichan, He became many. Okay, then Viryam Hiranyam Maya Visajit Tridha. And from him came up this golden hue. This golden universe came out. It is the sum total of all the living entities. Okay? Clear?
So here is mentioned, the Lord while lying on his bed of mystic slumber
Yeah.
generated the seminal symbol in golden in hue.
Yeah.
But there is nothing mentioned that he wake up.
Yeah, because when destruction is there, he is sleeping. Then the third canto, you will study that the material energy wakes him up. Now, Lord is the time to create. And then he wakes up and then he starts creation. And Vishwanath Thakur also is writing here, you can see it. The one Lord, desiring to become many, rose from his bed after the sleep of universal destruction and created the universe shining brightly in three forms by his energy. Okay, that way. Right. So, to get a better idea, we can read this commentary also. This universal form description is not so easy to understand. So we may get confused, but don't worry. The commentary may help us or commentary may confuse us more. So we'll read this commentary. Yeah. Read, please.
How did the universal form Samsati Virat arise? This verse explains.
Just whatever.
The one entity merging the Jivas in himself at the time of destruction was situated as one. After that, Anu, at the time of creation, he desired variety, Nanatvam. He then separated the Jivas from himself. From his bed of yoga, having slept at the time of destruction, representing night, the spiritual Purusa, Deva, then rose up in the morning at the time of creation, having created the elements such as Mahat Tattva by his energy, Maya. He created by these elements the universe with its layers, shining brightly, Viryam, with golden color. This is the great creation. The creation of the universal form situated in the cell measuring 500 million yojanas took place by combining the Lord's energy with parts of the elements such as Mahat Tattva. The Purusa then entered the cell of the universe, filled half of it with water emanating from himself, and placing the universal form within himself, went to sleep on the Garbhodaka ocean. After that, he rose from his bed and manifested the totality of the universe, golden in color in three forms. What are the three forms? These are Adi Devam, Adi Atmam, and Adi Bhutam.
Okay.
Next paragraph.
Uh-huh.
That totality or samshti will become the lotus stem arising from the Lord's navel, and this lotus stem will become the gross form of the universal form with 14 planetary systems. It will also become the subtle Hiranyagarbha, the form of Brahma, consisting of the totality of jivas. It will also become the four-headed Brahma who carries out creation. Thus, Brahma has three forms: four-headed Brahma, Hiranyagarbha, and universal form.
Okay. So Mahavishnu, he created all the jivas came out of him. Okay. And then he created a universe. So all these jivas, sum total of jiva is called Virat Roop. That Virat Roop entered into that shell. Okay. Then Garbhodakshayi Vishnu entered into that shell and took that Virat Roop inside him. And that Virat Roop came out in the form of a lotus stem. Okay. So it is called Hiranyagarbha also. These are three forms are there. So Brahma has three forms. Four-headed Brahma. Hiranyagarbha means the sum total of all jiva is also called Hiranyagarbha. And the universal form is also called Hiranyagarbha. And Brahma is also called Hiranyagarbha. So sum total of jiva is also universal form. It is called Hiranyagarbha. And Brahma is also called Hiranyagarbha. So this universe has three layers. Like the jiva had three layers. Adhidevik Purush, Adhyatmik Purush, Adhibhautik Purush. So this universe also has three layers. This will come for explanation in verse 18. We'll discuss that.
Hiranyagarbha, actual meaning of Hiranyagarbha
Is a sum total of all jivas.
that it will divide that two word Hiranya and Garbha.
Yeah. Golden. Hiranya means golden. Na? And that's a kind of a sum total of jivas. Garbha means in whose garbha all the jivas are there. So sometimes Brahma is also referred as Hiranyagarbha because he is carrying all the jivas with him.
Sometimes Prabhupada books, the level of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu is Hiranyagarbha.
Yeah, from there also. Like Garbhodakshayi Vishnu took all the jivas within his abdomen, and from there the lotus came out. And from there Brahmaji came out. And from there creation started. Okay. Yeah, Prabhu.
Regarding creation only, and a question that like we hear some living entities in the spiritual world, like whether they felt angry or whether they felt like themselves with the enjoyer. So when this material world was started, at that time only a very few entities would have got transported from the spiritual world to the material world.
This question is eternal question. ये क्या हुआ, कब हुआ, कैसे हुआ?
We do not find description in any of the scriptures like that.
Krishna Bhakti. कैसे हुआ पता?
Concept is clear, like we read in Prabhupada books, how the living entity got transferred. They went to multiple reasons, but just processing like very few must have transferred in the first lot.
Actually, it's very difficult, Prabhu. It's in the realm of eternity. No, we don't know. In the realm of eternity, we don't know when it happened. In purport to 13.20 Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada is saying when it happened, why it happened, Krishna knows. Then go back, then come to know.
And somewhere Prabhupada supposed to give that far as well.
Yeah.
So once the living entity goes back,
It won't come back.
Somewhere also we read but if the living entity wants to come back, then he can come back.
Yeah, it's a very complex topic. Fall down of jiva. So there are many, two schools of thoughts are there. So in ISKCON also, there are two schools of thoughts are there. So I also tried to do a lot of research, then I gave up. But many devotees say, no, the devotees can never fall, jivas can never fall from spiritual world. When they say they come out from Mahavishnu. Say like this. When it happened, when it started, is very difficult to find out. Only thing the Prabhupada says, somehow or the other, we have misused our independence and we are here.
Regarding going back to God, there is not so much a confusion.
And that's not the confusion. Not the confusion. Okay.
Maybe yesterday we were reading from Vijay Prabhu's section. There was like, particularly we are still in sleeping state, and when we wake up, we will be there in spiritual world.
Yeah, it's a dream, he's saying. In a way, it's saying, Prabhupada was saying in the lecture, in a way, we are never fallen down. We are dreaming that we are here. Like, it's a dream state because soul has nothing to do with this matter. Soul can never mix up with matter. Asanghami mayam purusho. Because of our dream state, we are thinking that we are in contact with Maya. That way. But we are separated from the Lord. So that's fact. So we have to go back. Adhidevam adhyatmam adhibhutam iti prabho athekam paurusham viryam tridha bhidata tachrinu. Yes.
Just hear from me how the potency of His Lordship divides one into three, called the controlling entities, the controlled entities, and the material bodies, in the manner mentioned above.
Anta shrira akashat purushasya vicheshtata oja saho balam jagge tataha prano mahanasu.
From the sky, situated within transcendental body of the manifested Mahavishnu, sense energy, mental force, and body strength are all generated, as well as the sum total of the fountainhead of the total living force.
Okay. So, from this ether within the body of the universal form arises Oja, Saha, and Bala. Okay. Oja is energy of the senses, Saha is the mental force, Balam is the bodily strength. Okay. And the fountainhead of all living entities. So then what happens next? Anuprananti yam prana pranantam sarva jantushu apananti pananti nara devam ivanuga.
As the flower of a king flow their plot, similarly when the total energy is in motion, all other living entities move. And when the total energy stops, endeavoring all other living entities stop sensual activity.
Purport?
The individual's living entity are completely depends on the total energy of Supreme Purusha. No one has independent existence, just as no electric lamp has independent equality. Each and every electric instrument depends fully on the total powerhouse. The total powerhouse depends on the reservoir of water for generating electricity. Water depends on the cloud depends on the sun depends on creation, and the creation depends on the movement of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all causes.
Yeah. So if you read the commentary, it will be more clear. This shows the greatness of the. Can you read the commentary, please?
This shows the greatness of the sutra by its power to manifest life. The senses prana perform actions following after the sutra which performs action, and they cease action when the sutra stops action. They are like servant of king.
So what is sutra? Sutra is a part of Mahat Tattva. You know? Mahat Tattva is mostly in Satoguna. But that part of sutra in which Rajogun is prominent, that part of Mahat Tattva in which Rajogun is prominent is called sutra. So sutra is like the pran vayu of universal form. Okay. So from that pran vayu comes the power of all the senses. Like in our body also, from pran all the senses get the power. Okay. Like in Kali Yuga, the prana remains in the grain. So when on Ekadashi we keep Nirjala Ekadashi, our senses become weak. Okay. So from the prana we get all the strength. So from the sutra they give all the strength. So as long as sutra is working, all the senses will get the strength. Okay. So sutra is like the prana of universal form. Okay. Now prane pakshita प्राणेक्षापाशिता श्रुत्रिद अंतरा जयते विभो पिपासतो जक्षस्तश्च प्राग्मुखम निर्भद्यत.
The living force being agitated by the Virat Purusha and
thirst, and when he desired to drink and eat, the mouth opened.
Okay. So, so this you see, if you see when your Prabodhini, you must be having Prabodhini with you. All of you have the Prabodhini? Bhagavad Prabodhini you have. So it is clearly mentioned that what is the creation procedure. Okay. So first will be desire. Okay. From desire, the gross sense organ, Adhibhut, will come up. And then the subtle sense organ, Adhyatma, will come up. Then sense Devta, Adidev. And then Tan Matra, Adhibhuta. Now from all this verse number 17 to 30, how different senses appear, it will be described. Right? So here now it is being described by being stultified as hunger and thirst appeared within the universal form. When we say hunger and thirst appeared in the uniform, that means all the living entities desire to eat and drink. Okay? So from the desire, sense organ is coming, then subtle sense organ is coming, then sense devta is coming, and then sense object is coming. Right? That is how, one by one, it will be generated. Okay? The sequence of this generation of senses may not be in line with what we have read in chapter 5. Okay? They were in sequence. Here it is just summarizing. Here it's not that the first hunger and thirst appeared. No. What was the first appearance of sense object? Sound. Okay. But here it's not that way. Sukadeva Goswami is just summarizing. So it's summarized. When we are summarizing, it may not be in the sequence. Clear? Right? So, Prabhupada is writing the purport, please. Prabhupada's purport.
The process by which all living beings in the mother develop their sense organs, the sense perceptions appears to follow the same principles in the case of the Virat Purusha, the sum total of all living entities. Therefore, the supreme cause of all generation is not impersonal without a desire. The desires for all kinds of sense perception and sense organs existed in the Supreme, and thus they take place in the individual persons. This desire is the nature of the Supreme Living Being, the Absolute Truth, because He is the sum total of all mouths. The individual living entities have mouths. Similarly, with all other senses and sense organs, here the mouth is the symbolic representation of all sense organs, for the same principles apply to the other also.
Okay. Now we can read the translations only. From the mouth, the palate becomes manifested, and thereupon the tongue was also generated. And after this, all the different tastes came into existence, so that the tongue can relish them. Okay. Right. So this is all. Now, what is in this? What is Adidev? What is Adhibhut? What is Adhyatma? Palate is Adhibhut. Very good. Tongue was Adhyatmic. Yeah. And Tan Matra also is Adhibhut, That taste, that is also Adhibhut. Right? Okay. And the subtle sense organ is Adhyatma for Varun. That's not mentioned here. Okay. Prabhupada is writing, the gradual process of evolution suggests the explanation of controlling deities Adidev, because Varuna is the controlling deity for all relishable juices. Therefore, mouth becomes a resting place for the tongue, which tastes all different juices, of which the controlling deity is the Varun. Okay, so Varun also comes. This suggests, therefore, that Varun was also generated along with the development of the tongue. The tongue and the palate, being instrumental, are called Adhibhutam, or the forms of matter, but the functioning deity who is a living entity is Adhidev, whereas the person undergoing the function is Adhyatma. Thus, the three categories are also explained as to their birth after opening of the mouth of the Virat Purush. The four principles mentioned in this verse is serve to explain the three main principles, namely the Adhyatma, Adidev, Adhibhut explained before. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Here, correct, it is whereas the person undergoing the function is Adi Atma.
Hmm?
The person undergoing the function is Adi Atma.
Person undergoing the
Function is Adi Atma. So previously we discussed that the subtle
yeah.
form of this that is Adi Atma. Here person.
Yeah, Adhyatma will be sense organ only. So, where is a person? Person means living entity undergoing the function. You see that this Adhibhautik, Adhidevik, Adhyatmic Purush, they are not actually Purush. They are coverings.
Means, like the person is not like referring for soul.
No, not
It's
for
subtle.
subtle thing only, subtle thing. Even that body is also not a Purush. Or it's called Adhipan. Yeah.
I just confused.
Yeah. It is. We are nominating as a Purush, but it is not a Purush. Right. Okay. Translation 19th. Please quickly, bro. Where's the mic?
When the supreme desire to speak, speeches were vibrated from the mouth. Then the controlling deity fire was generated from the mouth. But when he was lying in the water, all these functions remained suspended.
Okay. Yes. First, you can read the highlighted portion. You're not able to read?
The
Yeah.
peculiarity of the gradual development of the different senses is simultaneously supported by their controlling deities. It is to be understood, therefore, that the activities of sense organs are controlled by the will of the Supreme. The senses are, so to speak, offering a license for the conditioned souls who are to use them properly under the control of the controlling deity, deputed by the Supreme Lord.
Yeah. Okay. So one who violates such controlling regulation has to be punished by the degradation to a lower form status of life. Right? Okay. Next, Prabhu. Translation 20th.
Thereafter, when the Supreme Purusha desired to smell odors, the nostrils and respirations were generated, the nasal instrument and odors came into existence, and the controlling deity of air carrying smell also became manifest.
Yeah. Okay.
The idea is that the living entity cannot do anything independently, he can simply think of doing something independently, but he cannot act independently. This independence in thinking is there by the grace of the Lord, but the thinking can be given shape by the grace of the Lord, and therefore the common saying is that man possesses and God disposes. The whole explanation is on the subject of the absolute dependence of the living entities and absolute independence of the Supreme.
Yeah. Okay. So we are all senses are being controlled by the sense devta, and the sense devta are under the control of the Supreme Lord. So we are not at all independent. Okay. Next, Prabhu, 21st.
Thus, when everything existed in darkness, the Lord desired to see Himself in all that was created. Then the eyes, the illuminating God's Son, the power of vision, and the object of sight all became manifested.
Yeah. Next.
By development of the desire of the great sages to know the ear, the power of hearing, the controlling deity of hearing, and the object of hearing became manifested. The great sages desired to hear about the self.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next.
When there was a desire to perceive the physical characteristics of matter, such as softness, hardness, warmth, cold, lightness, and heaviness, the background of sensation, the skin pores, the hair on the body, and their controlling deities, the trees, were generated. Within and outside the skin is a covering of hair, through which sense perception becomes prominent.
Yeah. Okay.
Thereafter, when the Supreme Person desired to perform varieties of work, the two hands and their controlling strength and Indra, the demigod in heaven, became manifested. And also the acts dependent on both the hands and the demigod.
Okay.
Thereupon, because of his desiring to control movement,
his length became manifested, and from the length the controlling deity named Vishnu was generated. By his personal supervision of this act, all varieties of human beings are busily engaged in dutiful occupational sacrifice.
But Huh? Vishnu is the controlling deity. No? So all these deities they're not the ordinary demigods, they're primordial demigods. They're special living entities. We see the sun god, what is generated by Brahmaji. This is before the secondary creation. The demigods we see, they are in the Visarg, demigods we are referring to. But these demigods are called primordial demigods. They're in the primary creation. They are different.
They are created by Lord himself.
They are created by the Lord himself. Okay. Yeah.
They are born for sex pleasure, begetting offsprings and tasting heavenly nectar. The Lord developed the genitals, and thus there is a genital organ, and its controlling deity, the Prajapati. The object of sexual pleasure and the controlling deity are under the control of the genitals of the Lord.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can read the purport here.
The heavenly pleasure for the conditioned soul is sexual pleasure, and this pleasure is tasted by the genitals. The woman is the object of sexual pleasure, and both the sense perception of sexual pleasure and the woman are controlled by the Prajapatis, who is under the control of the Lord's genital. The impersonalist must know from this verse that Lord is not impersonal, for he has his genitals, on which all the pleasurable objects of sex depend. No one would have taken the trouble to maintain children if there were no taste of heavenly nectar by means of sexual intercourse. The material world is created to give the conditioned soul a chance for regeneration, for going back home, back to Godhead. And therefore, generation of living beings is necessary for upkeep of the purpose of creation. Sexual pleasure is an impetus for such action, and as such, one can even serve the Lord in the act of such sexual pleasure. The service is counted when the children born of such sexual pleasures are properly trained in God consciousness. The whole idea of material creation is to revive the dormant God consciousness of the living entity. In the form of life other than the human form, sexual pleasure is prominent without any motive of service for the mission of the Lord. But in the human form of life, the conditioned soul can render service to the Lord by creating progeny suitable for the attainment of salvation. One can beget hundreds of children and enjoy the celestial pleasure of sexual intercourse, provided he is able to train the children in God consciousness. Otherwise, begetting children is on the level of the swine. Rather, the swine is more expert than the human beings because the swine can beget a dozen piglets at a time, whereas a human being can give birth to only one at a time. So one should always remember that the genital sexual pleasure, the woman and the offsprings are related in the service of the Lord, and when we forget this relation in the service of the Supreme Lord, become subjected to the threefold miseries of material existence by the laws of nature. Perception of sexual pleasure is there even in the body of a dog, but there is no sense of God consciousness. The human form of life is distinct from that of the dog or the perception of God consciousness.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Next, please.
Thereafter, when he desired to evacuate the refuse of eatables, the evacuating hole, anus and the sensory organ, thereof developed along with the controlling deity Mitra. The sensory organ and the evacuating substance are both under the shelter of the controlling deity.
Okay.
Thereafter, when he desired to move from one body to another, the navel and the air of departure and death were combinedly created. The navel is the center for both, namely the death and the separating force.
Yeah. Can you read the purport, please?
The pranavayu continues the life, and the apanavayu stops the living force. Both the vibrations are generated from the abdominal hole and the navel. This navel is the joint from one body to another. Lord Brahma was born of the abdominal hole of Garbhodaksha Vishnu as a separate body, and the same principle is followed even in the birth of any ordinary body. The body of the child develops from the body of the mother, and when the child is separated from the body of the mother, it is separated by cutting the navel joint. And that is the way the Supreme Lord manifested himself as separated many. The living entities are therefore separated parts, and thus they have no independence.
Brother, if universal form is an imagination, then how he desired to move, how he desired to evacuate, how he desired to breathe.
You know,
Just an analogy.
it's like, universal form is kind of a blueprint. It will help Brahmaji in creation. Okay. So, one kind of blueprint is, yes, lower planets like the legs, when you're doing some construction, we have a blueprint. यहाँ पे ये बनेगा, ये बनेगा, ये बनेगा, that way. So similarly, upper planetary system, lower planetary system, that way. These are limbs of the universal form. Similarly, now how the body has to be created, this is also blueprint is there. If all the living is desiring to eat, then the mouth has to be there, the tongues. So this raw material is there. This is how you have to use that raw material. So that way you can see. So universal form is an imagination, but the ingredients are not imagination. Ingredients are there. Like we make a Govardhan बनाते हैं ना, राधा कुंड बना दिया सेब, यहाँ कुछ ना. When we make the Govardhan puja, we make the full Govardhan. Out of different things we make. So we show everything. Radha Kund, Sham Kund, Mansi Ganga. So they are reality. Mansi Ganga is reality, Radha Kund is reality, Sham Kund is reality. But our putting of some vegetable as Radha Kund, some fruits as Sham Kund, some halwa as Mansi Ganga, that's different, That's an imagination. But ingredients are reality. It will help Brahmaji in manufacturing, in creating. It's a kind of a blueprint.
Is sexual pleasure the only heavenly pleasure available in that planet?
It's considered to be.
But it's also in a minute proportion, no?
Yeah, it's a minute proportion and it is a cause of biggest distress. Because it's Maithuna Agar. This is the only pleasure which is keeping us bound in this material world. And this is advertised as the topmost pleasure. And that everyone is after this and that's why they're trapped. Heavenly nature, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
When there was a desire to have food and drink, the abdomen and the intestine and also the arteries become manifested. The rivers and seas are the source of their sustenance and metabolism.
Okay. So, it is written that the verse is Adi Adit Sor Annapananam Asan Kokshi Antranadaya Nadya Samudras Chatayo Tushti Pushti Tad Ashraya. Tushti is sustenance, Pushti is metabolism. So Vishnu Chakravarti says Tushti means the fullness of the belly and the Pushti means fullness because of taste. Okay. So Tushti and Pushti. Tushti is the sense object dependent on the intestine and the ocean. Pushti the sense object dependent on the veins and rivers. So Prabhupada's purport is there. Please read the purport.
The controlling deities of the intestines are the rivers and those of the arteries, the seeds. Fulfillment of the belly with food and drink is the cause of sustenance, and the metabolism of the food and drink replaces the waste of the bodily energies. Therefore, the body's health is dependent on healthy actions of the intestines and the arteries. The rivers and the seas being the controlling deities of the two keep the intestines and the arteries in healthy order.
So when we see whenever you have a sea bath or river bath, we feel more hunger. So that's very healthy. Okay. Okay. 30th, please.
When there was a desire to think about the activities of his own energy, then the heart, the seat of the mind, the moon, determination, all desire became manifested.
Yeah. Purport.
The heart of every living entity is the seat of the Supersoul, Paramatma, a planetary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without his presence, the living entity cannot get into the working energy according to his past deeds. The living entities who are conditioned in the material world are manifested in the creation in terms of respective inclinations inherent in them, and the requisite material body is offered to each and every one of them by the material energy under the direction of the Supersoul. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita. When therefore the Supersoul is situated in the heart of the conditioned soul, the requisite mind is manifested in the conditioned soul, and he becomes conscious of his occupation as one is conscious of his duty after waking up from slumber. Therefore, the material mind of the living entity develops when the Supersoul sits on his heart. After which the mind, the controlling deity, move, and then the activities of the mind, namely thinking, feeling, and willing, all take place. The activities of the mind cannot begin without the manifestation of the heart, and the heart becomes manifested when the Lord wants to see the activities of the material creations.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Now it will start how the dhatus, creation of dhatus and prans. Okay. Yes.
The seven elements, the seven elements of the body, namely the thin layer on the skin itself, the flesh, blood, fat, marrow, and bone, are all made of earth, water, and fire, whereas the life, breath is produced by the sky, water, and air.
Yeah. Purport, please.
The construction of the whole material world is prominently made by three elements, namely earth, water, and fire.
Although we say 5 elements, Bhumi, Apu, Anal, Vayu, but majorly it is what? Earth, water, and fire. Yeah.
But the living force is produced by sky, air, and water.
So the water is common in both. Our gross body and subtle body. Yeah. Yeah. So water is common in both, right? Yeah.
So water is a common element in both the gross and subtle forms of all material creation. And it should be noted here that due to necessity, water being most prominent in the material creation is the principal element of all the 5. This material body is thus an embodiment of the 5 elements, and the gross manifestation is perceived because of 3, namely earth, water, and fire. Sensations of touch are perceived due to the thin layer on the skin, and bone is as good as hard stone. The breathing air of life is produced of sky, air, and water, and therefore open air, regular bath, and ample space in which to live are favorable for healthy vitality. Fresh produce from the earth like grain and vegetables, as well as fresh water and heat is good for the upkeep of the gross body.
Yeah, it's a very practical tips Prabhupada is giving. Because our subtle body is nourished by what? Air, sky, and water. So how we can nourish this? So air should be, breathing is life produced of sky, air, and water. So the open air, water means regular bath, and ample space. So that way your mind feels good. If you are in a very tight space, no fresh air, no fresh water to take bath, so we feel bad. Mind feels very depressed. There's an open space, good fresh air, and we can take a bath, we feel good. Okay. Similar. हाँ? यहाँ बहुत अच्छा लगा पंजाबी बाग में आप पाएंगे बहुत क्रैम्ड है और हमारा जो मंदिर है ऑन द बैंक्स ऑफ ड्रेन एकदम ड्रेन के तट पे है तो हमें ड्रेन यमुना नहीं लगती और ड्रेन और से इतने मच्छर आते हैं हमें तो क्या बताएं आप लोग तो यहाँ बहुत खुला है द माइंड आल्सो फील्स वेरी पीसफुल Okay. And the gross body is nourished by earth, water, and fire. So then how you can do that? Earth means fresh produce from the earth, fresh vegetables like grains and vegetables, and fresh water. And fire means heat, the sunlight. That's upkeep for the gross body. Okay. आगे पढ़िए please.
Because of that, the IRB suggests if you have NDC, you can go some hill station like mountain.
Yeah. Yes. Fresh air, open sky.
And yogi also do
Go to that. Yes. The mind is very peaceful there. Yeah. So if you are living in cities, the only purpose should be to preach. Otherwise, there is no point in living in cities. If you are living in cities and you are not preaching, you better go to Himalayas. Make best use of it. Not preaching also. So Prabhu has told us to remain in cities only for the purpose of preaching. Okay. Sitapasya. Yes.
The sense organs are attached to the modes of material nature, and the modes of material nature are products of the false ego. The mind is subjected to all kinds of material experiences, happiness and distress, and the intelligence is the feature of the mind's deliberation.
Yeah. You can read the commentary, please.
The senses nature is to gravitate to sense objects, gunatmaka. The sense objects, guna, becomes attractive, prabhava, by false ego, bhutadi. The mind sustains all changes, sarva vikaratma, like happiness, distress, etc. Buddhi consists of the power of discrimination. In this way, the nature of the both the mind and the intelligence has been described.
Yeah. So senses have natural attraction for sense objects. And why they have attraction? Because of false ego, And mind has all the vikaras in store, and the intelligence is the power of discrimination. Okay. So Prabhupada is writing this. Mind is the instrument for feeling different material experiences. You can read from this. Mind is the instrument. Above the highlight portion, mind is the
instrument for feeling different material experiences, but intelligence is deliberative and can change everything for the better. The intelligent person, therefore, can attain salvation from the illusion of material existence by proper use of intelligence. An intelligent person can detect the avowed position of material existence and thus begin to inquire as to what he is, why he is subjected to different kinds of miseries, and how to get rid of all miseries. And thus, by good association, an advanced, intelligent person can turn towards the better life of self-realization. It is advised, therefore, that an intelligent person associate with the great sages and saints who are on the path of salvation. By such association, one can receive instructions which are able to slacken the conditioned soul's attachment for matter, and thus the intelligent man gradually gets rid of the illusion of matter and false ego and is promoted to the real life of eternity, knowledge and bliss.
Yes, everything depends on our association. Good. Okay. Next, Prabhu.
This way, all these, the external feature of the personality of Godhead is covered by gross forms such as those of planets, which were explained to you by me.
Okay. So this is how Virat Rup has been explained. Okay. Ata param sukshmatvam avyaktam nirvisheshanam anadi madhya nidhanam nityam vakmanasa param. Please read.
Therefore, beyond this gross manifestation is the transcendental manifestation finer than the finest form. It has no beginning, no intermediate stage, and no end. Therefore, it is beyond the limits of expression or mental speculation, and it is distinct from the material conception.
Yeah. Purport.
The gross external body of the Supreme is manifested at certain intervals, and thus the external feature or form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not the eternal form of the Lord, which has no beginning, no intermediate stage, and no end. Anything which has a beginning, intent, and end is called material. The material world is begun from the Lord, and thus the form of the Lord before the beginning of the material world is certainly transcendental to the finest or the final material conception. The ether in the material world is considered to be the finest. Finer than the ether is mind, intelligence, and false ego. But all eight of the outward covering are explained as outer covering of the absolute truth. The absolute truth is therefore beyond the expression and speculation of the material conception. He is certainly transcendental to all material conception. This is called nirvisheshanam. One should not, however, misunderstand nirvisheshanam as being without any transcendental qualification. Visheshanam Visheshanam means qualities. Therefore, nir added to it means that he has no material qualities or variegatedness. This nullifying expression is described in four transcendental qualifications, namely unmanifested, transcendental, eternal, and beyond the conception of mind or world. Beyond the limits of words means negation of the material conception. Unless one is transcendentally situated, it is not possible to know the transcendental form of the Lord.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, next please, 35, translation.
Neither of above form of the Lord, as just described unto you, from the material angle of vision, is accepted by the pure devotees of Lord, who knows him well.
Yeah, okay. So pure devotees are not interested in this form. Please read the purport. So you all are pure devotees, so so good.
The impersonalists think of the absolute personality of Godhead in two different ways, as above mentioned. On the one hand, they worship the Lord in his Vishwarupa, or all-pervading universal form, and on the other, they think of Lord's unmanifested, indescribable, subtle form. The theories of pantheism and monoism are respectively applicable to these two conceptions of the Supreme as gross and subtle. But both of them are rejected by the learned pure devotees of the Lord because they are aware of the factual position.
Okay, got the point. So gross form of universal form is pantheism. Pantheism means this whole nature is Lord only. That is pantheism. And the subtle form of the universal form is monoism. Monoism, what? There is one energy which is all pervading. That's all. What is that? Indescribable, anirvachaniya. They use the word anirvachaniya. We said achintya, the impersonal says anirvachaniya. उसको डिस्क्राइब ही नहीं कर सकते तो क्या बात करेंगे वो है कुछ कुछ है so the pure devotees they are not attracted by this gross universal form as well as subtle universal form. Okay, that way. Yeah, this is very nice, clearly explained, mentioned. Go ahead.
Arjuna, as a pure devotee of the Lord, never previously saw the contemplated universal form of the Lord, Vishwarupa. But when he did see it, his curiosity was satisfied. But because of his attachment as a pure devotee, he was not happy to see that form. Indeed, he was afraid to see such a gigantic form of the Lord. He therefore prayed to the Lord to assume his four-handed Narayan form or his Krishna form, which alone could please Arjuna. Undoubtedly, the Lord has the supreme potential to exhibit himself in multifarious forms, but the pure devotees of the Lord are interested in his forms as eternally exhibited in the abode of the Lord, known as Tripad Vibhuti or the kingdom of God. The Lord in the Tripad Vibhuti abode exhibits himself in two forms, either with 4 hands or with 2 hands. The Vishwarupa exhibited in the material manifestation has unlimited hands and unlimited dimensions, with everything unlimited. The pure devotees of the Lord worship him in his Vaikuntha forms as Narayan or Krishna. Sometimes the same Vaikuntha forms of the Lord are in the material world also, by his grace as Sri Ram, Sri Krishna, Sri Nrsimhadev, etc. And thus the pure devotees also worship them. Usually the features shown in the material world have no existence in the Vaikuntha planets, and thus they are not accepted by the pure devotees. What the pure devotees worship from the very beginning are the eternal forms of the Lord existing in the Vaikuntha planets. The non-devotee impersonalist imagine material forms of the Lord and ultimately they merge into the impersonal Brahmajyoti of the Lord, whereas the pure devotees of the Lord are worshippers of the Lord, both in the beginning and also in the perfect stage of salvation eternally. The worship of the pure devotee never stops, whereas the worship of the impersonalist stops after his attainment of salvation, when he merges into the impersonal form of the Lord known as the Brahmajyoti. Therefore, the pure devotees of Lord are described here as Vipaschita, or the learned one who are in knowledge of the Lord perfectly.
We are not worshippers of the Virat form. Our Ishta Dev is not Virat Roop. But still, we are trying to understand, trying to appreciate the opulence of the Lord, trying to appreciate His compassion, how He's generating. Just to fulfill our desire, it is all creation is there. That is the only way. But we will remain the worshipper of Madan Mohanji only. Okay. Sa vache vachaktavya bhagwan barahat rupadrik nana rupa kriya datte sa karmat karma ka para.
He, the personality of Godhead, manifests himself in a transcendental form, being the subject of his transcendental name, quality, pastimes, entourage, and transcendental variegatedness. Although he is unaffected by all such activities, he appears to be so engaged.
Okay. Now the Visarga is being explained. Okay. How the Visarga is there. Right. So you can read the commentary of Vishwanath Thakur.
Now Shukadeva describes the creation, maintenance and destruction of the individual bodies. This continues till verse 44. The Purusha who manifests Mahat Tattvasaha, the Supreme Lord Paraha, thought without material actions, Akarmakaha, accepting the form of Brahma, taking up activities, Sakarma, creating forms and activities suitable to be named Vachya, and as well as names which suitably designate them, Vachkataya, for the individual jivas existing in the universe.
Okay. So, Prabhupada is also writing. You can read Prabhupada's purport. Whenever there is a need for material creation.
Whenever there is a need of material creation, the transcendental personality of Godhead accepts forms in the material world for creation, maintenance, and destruction. One should be intelligent enough to know his activities in truth and not be biased to conclude that he descends to the material world by accepting the form created by material nature. Any form accepted from the material nature has its affection for everything done in the material world. The conditioned soul, who accepts a material form for undergoing a certain term of material activities, is subjected to the laws of matter. But here in this verse, it is clearly stated that although the forms and activities of the Lord appear to be the same as those of the conditioned soul, they are supernatural and impossible for the conditioned soul. He, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always unaffected by such activities. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.14, the Lord says, Nama karmani yampanti nami karma phalesvaya iti mam yovijanati karma bhirna sabhadyate. The Lord is never affected by the activity which he apparently performs by his different incarnations and personalities, nor does he have any desire to achieve success by fruitive activities. The Lord is full by his different potencies of wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation, and thus he has no reason for physical exertion like the conditioned soul. Therefore, an intelligent person who can distinguish between the transcendental activities of the Lord and the activities of the conditioned souls is also not bound by the reactions of activities. The Lord is Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva, conducts the three modes of material nature. From Vishnu is born Brahma, and from Brahma is born Shiva. Sometimes Brahma is a separated part of Vishnu, and sometimes Brahma is Vishnu himself. Thus, Brahma creates the different species of life all over the universe, which means that the Lord creates the whole manifestation either by himself or through the agency of his authorized deputies.
Okay. Yeah. Next, the translations. Yeah, 37 to 39.
O King, know from me that all living entities are created by the Supreme Lord according to their deeds. The living entities included Brahma and his son like Daksha, the
periodical heads
like
Havasvat,
Vivasya Manu, and demigods like Indra, Chandra, and Varuna, and the great sages like Raghu, Vyas, and Vasishtha, and inhabitants of Pitralok and Siddhalok, the Charanas, the Gandharvas, Vidyancharas, Asuras, Yakshas, Kinnaras, and angels, the serpents, the monkey-shaped Kimpurshas, the human beings, the inhabitants of Mrityalok, the demons, Pisachas, ghosts, spirits,
Lunatics.
lunatics, and evil spirits, the good and evil stars, the goblins, the animals in the forest, and the birds, the household animals, the reptiles, the mountains, the moving and standing living entities, the living entities born from embryos, from eggs, from perspirations, and from seeds, and all others, whether they be in the water or land or in the sky, in happiness, in distress, or in mixed happiness and distress, all of them, according to their past deed, are created by the Supreme Lord.
Yeah.
तो goblins क्या होते हैं?
Goblins. Lunatics तो पागल हो गए. Goblins देखो जरा, गूगल जी से पूछो. भूत ही हैं. ठीक. पिशाच के साथ पिशाच बहुत गोब्लिन्स भूत का ही है.
अंतर क्या है भूत में पिशाच में?
होता है प्रभु, अंतर तो है. आई डोंट नो समवन. पिशाच ड्रिंक ब्लड, भूत डोंट ड्रिंक ब्लड. चैट होता है, डिफरेंस तो है कुछ. नॉट वेयर. ओके ओके. नेक्स्ट. सत्वम रजस तमा इति त्रिस्त्रा सुरनार्नका त्राप्ये कैकेशो राजन भेद्यन्ते गतस्य त्रिधा यदकैकतरुणभ्यां स्वभावम् उपहन्यते.
The mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of darkness, they are different living creatures, who are known as demigods, human beings, and hellish living entities. O king, even a particular mode of nature, being mixed with the other two, is divided into three, and thus each kind of living creature is influenced by the other modes and acquires its habits also.
Yeah. Okay. So Prabhupada is explaining how we are controlled by modes of nature, and in between Prabhupada is writing, if one is in good association from here, if one is in good association, he can develop the mode of goodness, and if in bad association, he may develop the mode of darkness or ignorance. Nothing is stereotyped. One can change his habit by good or bad association, and one has to become intelligent enough to discriminate between good and bad. Yeah, you can read Prabhu. The best association
The
is.
best association is the service of the devotees of the Lord.
Yeah.
And by that association, one can become the highest qualified man by the grace of the Lord's pure devotees. As we have already seen in the life of Sri Narada Muni, he became the topmost devotee of the Lord simply by the association of pure devotees of the Lord. By birth, he was the son of a maid servant and had no knowledge of his father and no academic education, even of the lowest status. But simply by associating with the devotees and by eating the remnants of their foodstuff, he gradually developed the transcendental qualities of the devotees. By such association, his taste for chanting and hearing the transcendental glories of the Lord became prominent. And because the glories of the Lord are not different from the Lord, he got direct association with the Lord by means of sound representation. Similarly, there is the life of Ajamil, who was the son of a Brahmana and was educated and trained properly in the discharge of the duties of a Brahmana. But who, in spite of all this, because he contacted the bad association of a prostitute, was put into the path of the lowest quality of Chandala, or the last position for a human being. Therefore, the Bhagavatam always recommends the association of the Mahat or the great soul for opening the gate of salvation. To associate with persons engaged in lording it over the material world means to enter into the darkest region of hell. One should try to raise himself by the association of great soul. That is the way of the profession.
Yeah. Sa vedam jagadhata bhagavan dharma rupa drik Pushnati Sthapayan Vishwam Tiryan Narasuradevi.
He, the personality of Godhead, as the maintainer of all in the universe, appears in different incarnations after establishing the creation, and thus he reclaimed all kinds of conditioned souls amongst the humans, the non-humans, and the demigod.
Yeah, so it is how the Lord incarnates himself in different societies and for the establishment of dharma and for for delivering all of us. Okay. Tataha kalagni rudratma yat srishtam idamatmana sanishanti tatkale ghananikam ivanila.
Thereafter, at the end of the millennium, the Lord himself in the form of Rudra, the destroyer, will annihilate the complete creation as the wind displaces the clouds.
Purport.
This creation is very appropriately compared to the clouds. Clouds are created or situated in the sky, and when they are displaced, they remain in the same sky without manifestation. Similarly, the whole creation is made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his form of Brahma. It is mentioned by him in the form of Vishnu, and it is destroyed by him in the form of Rudra or Shiva, all in due course. The creation, maintenance, and destruction are nicely explained in Bhagavad Gita 8.19 to 20 as follows. Buddhagraho
Saivayam bhutva 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 paraliyate ratriyagame avisha partha prabhavanti arapagame paratasmat tasmatu bhavanya avyakta sanatnatana yasa sarveshu shubhuteshu nashyasatu na vinashyasya.
The nature of the material world is that it is first created very nicely, then it develops very nicely and stays for a great number of years, even beyond the calculation of the greatest mathematicians. But after that, it is again destroyed during the night of Brahma without any resistance. And at the end of the night of Brahma, it is again manifested as a creation to follow the same principles of maintenance and destruction. The foolish, conditioned soul who has taken this temporary world as a permanent settlement has to learn intelligently why such creation and destruction take place. The fruitive actors in the material world are very enthusiastic in the creation of big enterprises, big houses, big empires, big industries, and so many big things out of the energy and ingredients supplied by the material agent of the Supreme Lord. With such resources and at the cost of valuable energy, the conditioned soul creates, satisfies his needs, but unwillingly has to depart from all his creations and enter into another phase of life to create again and again. To give hope to such foolish conditioned souls who waste their energy in the temporary material world, the Lord gives information that there is another nature which is eternally existent without being occasionally created or destroyed. And that the conditioned soul can understand what he should do, and now his valuable energy may be utilized. Instead of wasting his energy in matter which is sure to be destroyed in due course by the supreme will, the conditioned soul should utilize his energy in the devotional service of the Lord so that he can be transferred to the other eternal nature where there is no birth, no death, no creation, no destruction, but permanent life instead, full of knowledge and unlimited bliss. The temporary creation is thus exhibited and destroyed just to give information to the conditioned soul who is attached to the temporary things. it is also meant to give him a chance for self-realization and not for sense gratification, which is the prime aim of all fruited nectar.
Yeah, so Prabhupada never leaves an opportunity to create sense of urgency in all of us. Okay, all these things are temporary. Okay. Yatha bhavena kathito bhagwan bhagavattama netad bhavan hi param drishtum arhanti surya.
Describe the activity of Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the pure devotees desire to see more glorious things in transcendence beyond these features.
Yeah. So pure devotees like yourself, they don't appreciate so much. They want to hear more about the transcendental activities of Lord. Okay. Yes. So whatever you're feeling is being, ratified by Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. So Prabhupada is writing the purport. Lord is not only the creator and destroyer of the material manifestation of different energies. He is more than a simple creator and destroyer. For there is his feature of Anand or pleasure feature. This pleasure feature of the Lord is understood by the pure devotees only, not by others. The impersonal is satisfied simply by understanding the all-pervasive influence of the Lord. This is called Brahma realization. Greater than the impersonalist is the mystic who sees the Lord situated in his heart as Paramatma, the partial representation of the Lord. But they are pure devotees who take up in the direct pleasure Anand, the potency of the Lord by effectual reciprocation of loving service. The Lord in his abode is called Vaikuntha planets, which are eternal manifestations, always remain with the associates and enjoys transcendental loving services by his pure devotees and different transcendental humans. Okay. The pure devotee of the Lord thus undergo a practice of their devotional service to the Lord during the manifestation of creation and take full advantage of manifestation by qualifying themselves to enter the kingdom of God. Okay. So they are first materialist. Above them are those who are after some transcendentalist. So they for Brahm realization. So the Brahm realized souls, they think that the absolute truth is without any qualities. Okay. Nirvishesh, Nirguna. Then above them is those who have Paramatma realization. So they think, okay, absolute truth has some qualities, material qualities, because they appreciate Purush avatars. Okay. So they have material qualities. But above them are those who appreciate, they know the absolute truth has material qualities as well as spiritual qualities. So they appreciate all Leela avatars, Matsya avatar, Kurma avatar, Narsingh avatar. But above them are the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, who are Ishta Dev is Akhil Rasamit Murti, Vrindavan Shyam Sundar Krishna. Okay, that is the topmost. Okay. Similarly, accordingly, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in Harinam Chintamani, the God has primary names and secondary names. Okay. So all these impersonalists or the Paramatma, those who are seeking for Paramatma, they address a lot as with secondary name, Srishti Karta, Sarvyapi, all those things. So when we are chanting the secondary names, the secondary name has a potency. They are also powerful, but they will take us only up to beyond. They give us only liberation. But when we chant the primary names, they take us back to Golok Dham, abode of the Lord. When we are chanting the secondary names, we are chanting the names of the Lord with my perspective, that I am a Jiva in this material world. You have created this material world. Thank you for that. You are Jagat Karta, Srishti Karta. You are Parmeshwar. You are Sarvyapi. So I am referring to the Lord in my terms. But when I am chanting the primary names, I am referring to the Lord in his terms. Yashoda Nandan, Radha Madan Mohan. So that gives more pleasure to the Lord. And that is more purifying. Right? But here Prabhupada is writing that we are trying to be pure devotees. So we relish all these pastimes of the Lord. But how should we utilize this creation? Prabhupada is writing, the pure devotees of the Lord thus undergo a practice of their devotional service to the Lord during the manifestation of creation and took full advantage of the manifestation by qualifying themselves to enter into the kingdom of God. So whatever we are doing, it's like a net practice. In the cricket team, those probables are selected for the team who perform well in net practice. So this material world is like a practicing ground for all of us. So each and every of our action is being observed. How we are dealing with devotees, how we are chanting, how we are hearing, how we are honoring prasad, what kind of mentality we have. So it's a practice session. We are under observation. We are probables. That's why we are under this Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So we all have chances of going back to Godhead. But when the Lord is observing. So when we become qualified, then we will go back to Godhead. So we have to make best use of this practice session. But sometimes our mind will cheat us. अभी चल रहा है, कर लेंगे बाद में. थोड़ा relax. अभी match शुरू नहीं हुआ. We feel like अभी match शुरू नहीं हुआ, but match is on. It is being recorded. So we should make full use of whatever facilities we have and give our best. Okay. नास्य कर्माणि जन्मादो परुष्यानुविधीयते कृतित्व प्रतिषेधार्थम मायायोर्पितम हितत्. Yes.
There is no direct engineering by the Lord for the creation and destruction of the destruction of the material world. What is described in the Vedas about his direct interference is simply to counteract the idea that material nature is the creator.
Yeah. Lord has got nothing to do with this material world creation. But still, this is described just to counteract this idea that material nature is automatically the creator. Okay. So Prabhupada is writing again big purport. Maya dakshina prakriti suite sacharacharam. Inert matter cannot create itself. No, it is like, what is that? Ajastan nyaya. That there are nipples on the goat also. They can never give milk. Okay. So you can read from here. Yeah. Ateva Krishna Mol Jagata Karan Prakriti Karan Yaiche Ajagalastan. From here you can read this because
Karana Navarshai Vishnu is a plenary expansion of Krishna. It is he who electrifies the matter to put it in motion. The example of electrification is quite appropriate. A piece of iron is certainly not fire, but when the iron is made red hot, certainly it has the quality of fire through its burning capacity. Matter is compared with a piece of iron, and it is electrified or made red hot by the glance or manipulation of the supreme consciousness of Vishnu. Only by such electrification is the energy of matter displayed in various actions and reactions. Therefore, inert matter is neither the efficient nor the material cause of the cosmic manifestation. Shri Kapil Dev has said, Yathor Mukar Visvalingar Dhumar Vapi Swasambhavar Api Atme Atma Venat Mabhi Matar Yathagni Prathak Urmukar. The original fire, its flame, its sparks and its smoke are all one. For fire is still fire, yet is different from the flame. The flame is different from the sparks, and the sparks are different from the smoke. In every one of them, namely in the flames, in the sparks, and in the smoke, the integrity of the fire is present. Yet all of them are differently situated with different positions. The cosmic manifestation is compared to the smoke, because when smoke passes over the sky, so many forms appear, resembling many known and unknown manifestations. The sparks are compared to the living entities, and the flames are compared to material nature pradhan. One must know that each and every one of them is effective simply because of being empowered by the quality of the original fire. Therefore, all of them, namely the material nature, the cosmic manifestation, and the living entities, are but different energies of the Lord, fire. Therefore, those who accept the material nature, Prakriti, as the cosmic manifestation's original cause, Prakriti is the cause of creation according to Sankhya philosophy, are not correct in their conclusion. The material nature has no separate existence without the Lord. Therefore, setting aside the Supreme Lord as the cause of all causes is the logic of Aja Gala Stana Nyaya, or trying to milk the nipples on the neck of a goat. The nipples on the neck of a goat may seem like sources of milk, but to try to get milk from such nipples will be foolish.
Okay. Ayam tu brahmana kalpa savikalpa udarata vedi sadharano yat sarga prakati vikrita.
The process of creation and annihilation described in summary herein as the regulative principle during the duration of Brahma's one day. It is also the regulative principles in the creation of Mahat, in which the material nature is dispersed.
Okay. So Sarga is the creation at the beginning of Brahma's life, and Visarga is the creation at the beginning of Brahma's day. Okay. So Prabhupada is writing that the creation during the day of Brahma is called Kalpa, and creation of Brahma is called Vikalpa. When the vikalpas are made possible by the breathing of Mahavishnu, is called Mahavikalpa. So this word kalpa is used sometimes in different meanings. Kalpa normally means a day of Brahma. Sometimes kalpa is used for the whole creation also. But now it is called Mahakalpa. Okay. Right. परिमाणं च कालस्य कल्पलक्षणविग्रहं यथा पुरस्तादि व्याख्यासे पादमं कल्पम अथौ शृणु.
O king, I shall in due course explain the measurement of time in its gross and subtle features with the specific symptoms of each, but for the present let me explain unto you the Padma.
Padmakalpa. Yes, purport.
The present duration of a kalpa of Brahma is called the Varaha Kalpa or Sveta Varaha Kalpa because the incarnation of the Lord as Varaha took place during the creation of Brahma, who was born on the lotus coming out of the abdomen of Vishnu. Therefore, this Varaha Kalpa is also called Padma Kalpa, and this is testified by acharyas like Jiva Goswami, as well as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in pursuance of the fast commenter Swami Sridhar. So there is no contradiction between the Varaha and Padma Kalpa.
Sometimes this kalpa is called Varaha Kalpa, Shvet Varaha Kalpa or Padma Kalpa. It's all the same. Yadano Nabho.
This present duration means the life of Brahma.
Present, yeah. Present day is going on. This is also
Duration means
day.
day.
Yeah. Brahma's day is going on. No? In one day of Brahma, every day of Brahma is called Kalpa. So this Kalpa is called Varaha Kalpa, Shvet Varaha Kalpa or Padma Kalpa. Okay. 48 translation please.
Shauna Rishi, after hearing all about the creation, inquired from Sud Goswami about Vidura. For Sud Goswami had previously informed him how Vidura left home, leaving aside all his relatives who were very difficult to leave.
तो सोनागादी ऋषि also हो गया, काफी क्रिएशन रिलेशन हो गया. अब जरा बताओ विदुर जी के बारे में. So yeah, 49. So he's writing, Vishnu is writing in the commentary. No? Can you read that commentary, Vishnu?
Being eager to hear other topics, the proposed topic of the Kalpa gets delayed by the question of
Yeah, अभी नहीं कल्पबल बहुत कल्प हो गया. पूरा second canto is like this only. Now give us some fast time.
You have told us Vidura Stirtha Yatrayam Maitreyal Atmano Gatin Jatpa Gat Ha Vikam Purnam Saya Bhakta Vivikita. Having learned about Krishna, the goal of Jiva from Maitreya, while on pilgrimage, Vidura came to Hastinapur with a desire to teach that.
Yeah, purport.
The rishis headed by Shaunaka were more anxious to know about Vidura, who met Maitreya Rishi while traveling to the pilgrimage sites of the world.
Yeah, next translation.
Shaunaka Rishi said, "Let us know, please, what topic were discussed between Vidur and Maitreya, who talked on transcendental subjects, and what was inquired by Vidura and replied by Maitreya. Also, please let us know the reason for Vidura's giving up the connection of his family members and why he again came home. Please also let us know the activities of Vidura while he was in the places of pilgrimage."
Purport.
Sri Sud Goswami was narrating the topics of the creation and destruction of the material world, but it appears that the rishis headed by Shaunaka were more inclined to hear of transcendental subjects which are on a higher level than the physical. There are two classes of man, namely those two addicted to the gross body and the material world, and others on the higher level who are interested more in transcendental knowledge. Srimad Bhagavatam gives facility to everyone, both to the materialist and to the transcendentalist. By hearing Srimad Bhagavatam in the matter of the Lord's glorious activities, both in the material world and in the transcendental world, man can derive equal benefit. The materialists are more interested in the physical laws and how they are acting, and they see wonders in those physical glamours. Sometimes, due to physical glamours, they forget the glories of the Lord. They should know definitely that physical activities and their wonders are all initiated by the Lord. The rose in the garden gradually
takes its shape and color to become beautiful and sweet, not by a blind physical law, although it appears like that. Behind the physical law is the direction of the complete consciousness of the Supreme Lord, otherwise things cannot take shape so systematically. The artist draws a picture on a rose very nicely with all attention and artistic sense, and yet it does not become a perfect as the real rose. If that is a real fact, how can we say that the real rose has taken its shape without intelligence behind the beauty? The sort of conclusion is due to the pure fund of knowledge. One must know from the above descriptions of the creation and vision that the Supreme Consciousness, being omnipresent, can take care of everything with perfect attention. This is the fact of the omnipresence of the Supreme Lord. Persons still more foolish than the gross materialists, however, claim to be transcendentalists and claim to have such supreme, all-pervading consciousness, but offer no proof. Such foolish persons cannot know what is going on behind the next ball, yet they are falsely proud of possessing the cosmic, all-pervading consciousness of the Supreme Person. For them also, hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam is a great help. It will open their eyes to see that simply by claiming Supreme Consciousness, one does not become supremely conscious. One has to prove in the physical world that he has such supreme consciousness. The rishis of the hemisphere, however, were above the gross materialists and the false translists, and thus they were always anxious to know the real truth in transcendental matters as discussed by authorities.
Yeah. How Prabhupada is giving nice explanation. Very nice explanations, yeah. Sutta Vacha Ragya Parikshita Prishto Yad Avochan Mahamuni Tadvo Abhidhasye Shunata Ragya Prashnusarata.
Sri Sutta Goswami explained, I shall now explain to you the very subject explained by the great sages in answer to King Parikshit inquiries. Please hear them attentively.
No, it's a very interesting thing. No, Shonakaditi, she stopped Sutta Goswami. Yep. No, not Kalpa, please. And Sutta Goswami saying, you know what happened? At the same time, Parikshit also asked the same thing to Sukadeva Goswami. Same thing, no, he said that. Sutta said, I will explain to you what the great sage Sukadeva spoke in response to Parikshit when asked by Parikshit. Please listen. You know? See the commentary.
The meaning is this: what you have asked, the king also asked Sukadeva. Sukadeva spoke in answer to the question of Parikshit previously about the conversation between Vidur and Maitra. I will relate that to you. Thus, the commentary on the 10th chapter of the second canto of Bhagavatam has been completed to give pleasure to the hearts of the devotee in accordance with the view of the Acharyas. Because the Lord performed action in response to the thirst of Brahma, satisfying him. He showed the universe with sweet mercy.
Yes, okay. So, it was coincidence, okay? Prabhupada is also writing. Prabhupada, please. Prabhupada.
Any question that is put forward may be answered by quoting the authority and satisfies the sinner section. That is the system within the law code. The best lawyer gives evidence from the past judgment of the court without taking much trouble to establish his case. This is called the parampara system, and learned authorities follow it without manufacturing rubbish interpretation. Ishvara Param Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadi Radha Govinda Sarva Karana. Let us all obey the Supreme Lord, whose hand is in everything, without expectation. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the second canto, 10th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Bhagavatam in answer to your question.
Jai Hari Hari Bo. Those ends. Unit, which unit? Unit 8. Unit 8 of Bhakti Vaibhav ISKCON Ujjain. Thank you very much, devotees. Hare Krishna. हो गया 2 घंटे हो गए आपके, बधाई हो. Thank you.
A question.
Yes.
Acharyas कहते हैं कि first release the Srishti Leela, then you can enter into the Ashraya Tattva. So we are feeling that we are not releasing the Srishti Leela.
Yeah, we are not relishing because we are above like Shonakadi Rishi, we are also above materialist and ghosts. So, but we should appreciate. We won't relish Virat Purush and everything, but we should try to appreciate. So if we more appreciate this, then we can relish more of Raslila and other.
We can understand the opulence of the Lord.
Yeah. If we appreciate the opulence of the Lord, then we can appreciate His sweetness. Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
Hare Krishna. So this is one of the most exciting sessions we had in this unit. And Prabhuji also took out time to give 2 Bhagavatam classes. Our congregation was little dissatisfied that they couldn't have the separate congregation classes for them. Generally the guest speaker comes, he gives evening classes for the congregation.
After Bhagavad, after Bhakti Bhavana, na? Okay, it's too much. Brahmachari class, because the first train got delayed. I also missed that. I was willing to get at 3 o'clock, but I didn't have. Wherever I go, I give complaints only.
Please come once again, at least within 6-8 months.
Yeah. Yes.
Justify to that once.
Yes. I'll try my best. I really relish all of your association. You devotees are so wonderful. I know. I'm really impressed.
Let us express our appreciation to Prabhuji by chanting one time Hare Krishna mantra.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Jai. Thank you. Hari. Should I get up? Better photo.
अरे साइड में ऐसा कुछ ऐसा करना है एप्पल खाना सीखो यार
Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada ki
जय अभी आ जाओ अभी आप ही आ जाओ